is I think the mindfulness is the most powerful technique to stay in the present process, to be available in the here and now with your with whatever you are, with the feelings, thoughts, and being okay with that. So staying with that, and then certainly allowing the presence, and then recognizing it, investigating it, you know, this annoyance, let's say, how does it feel in your body? How does it how those feelings fuel up your thoughts? And then the thoughts fuel up your feelings in a vicious cycle sense. And then how does, you know, let us to react, you know, and that's basically mindfulness. And the mindful communication kind of blends. So that's the seminar today. Last week we kind of focused on the transformative communication, and the one variant of it as a non-violent communication of the transformative communication. And the non-violent communication, we learned the four process, the four steps of non-violent communication: observation, feelings, needs, and requests. And at the moment, anyone hopefully wanna say something about it, or hopefully it was useful for you, how we need to go through observation, feelings, connect the feelings to needs, and then the request. So, and that was part of it. And in today's seminar, however, we will focus on mindfulness. How can mindfulness as a discipline coming from Zen Buddhism has been applied to a therapy? Anita is I think psychologist, she said, clinical psychologist. So how mindfulness—
Yes, I am.
Great. So we see how mindfulness has entered into the cognitive behavioral therapy in the form of, for instance, Paul Gilbert, Professor Paul Gilbert in UK. He invented or blended this compassionate focused therapy to where he blended the cognitive behavioral therapy with the traditional mindfulness, particularly the Zen Buddhism version of it, and then how that lead to a new kind of synthesis. So we will today both look at mindfulness, and then to also some of the aspects of the how cognitive behavioral therapy can help us to enhance both our capacity to listen in the presence, and also to observe our own cognitive dissonances, and then communicate through not a dissonance, but from a presence that is mindful. Okay, so I will kind of now a little bit, I will again talk about a little bit the background, the philosophy, and why it's important, this mindfulness. Mindfulness has been in the mainstream now, it's everywhere. But the basic point of mindfulness is, it's basically in psychology, it's the here and now approach. Here and now approach. That is, you or anyone being in the present moment. That is in the now. Not somewhere in the mind, in the future, thinking what they're gonna do tomorrow, or how they're gonna do what they're gonna do after this course finishes, how they're gonna take care of some other things, or what happened in the past, how should I say it, or what should I say it in the past, or why he did that, or why she did that in the past. But it's in the present process. It's the focused attention, particularly the mindfulness. There are many types of meditations, but the mindfulness refers to a conscious focus attention to present moment, where you start, when you do it, you start hearing and becoming aware of the noises around you in a more deeper way, and you get in touch with your body and your bodily sensations and the thoughts that are jumping around. So, everything is too fast in this world. We are living in a post-capitalist society, very technological society. The social media, there are so many stimulants going on during the day from the outside world. There's a constant buzz, and we kind of lose ourselves in that trance of that running for the deadlines, rushing for the deadlines, finishing this, finishing that, meeting deadline, meeting another deadline, you know, trying to focus and complete a task, complete a objective, a mission, and the life goes on with completing another task, another task, another task, in the trance state of automatic conditioning, as if. And mindfulness offers, which has been around for 3,000 years, offers a method, and a scientific method, and a human wisdom method. It's a wisdom tradition to get out of that fixated automatic conditioning trance that we are living in our day-to-day life, in order to connect with what is available in us as the here and now, the presence, have a different kind of an energy when you establish yourself in the present moment, and you are just being there with yourself, with no things attached, and just being focusing to now. When they asked to Dalai Lama, when was it that in your life, which moment was that you were the most happy? And he thought about it, if he has this love, and he said, well, actually it's now. It's a life philosophy of the coming from Buddhism, that for being present at the moment is being practiced in everyday life. So in today's seminar, we will basically talk about why it's important that we are aware of being mindful, and that why we need these practices in a daily basis, or at least 3-4 times a week, depending on the individual, to establish us in the present. Now, in many mindfulness practices, we start by focusing on the breath, on our breath, when we enter when we try to establish ourselves in the presence. Because it's a good start, because your breath is the only thing that is going, automatically at the present moment. So that's why there is a, saying that, okay, focus on your breath. But certainly it's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is staying conscious with a focused attention on the presence, and allowing what is there to come. And you don't know what will come. Every day, some maybe other thoughts dominate. Thoughts come, and then you lose yourself in those thoughts. And then when you lose yourself, you say, oh, I lost myself in thoughts. So you come back to the presence. You focus on presence now. And then after a couple minutes, your mind is addicted to thoughts. Human mind generates 20,000 thoughts every day. 20 to 40,000, differing on the resources. But you know, we have the mind is very evolved to have so many thoughts during the day. So you lose yourself on the thought, and you wake up. You say, "Oh, I lost myself in thought again." You come back to the present moment again, and you continue this practice, so that we train ourselves to be present in the present. Okay, so that's basically the philosophy of mindfulness. And in Buddhism, when Buddha and become the enlightened one, Buddha means the enlightened one, he was basically trying to find a method to free from suffering. And then we have this great tradition of mindfulness, going back to, you know, original Buddhism, through meditation. Certainly, we have also a compassion tradition coming from Buddha, and I will talk about that. Loving kindness and compassion. And then in the Western world, actually, the mindfulness made its entrance with the mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction. I don't know if anyone heard about this. It was founded by, yeah, you heard about Gulshan? Yes? It was
yes, me too.
Anita, you heard? Yes. It was founded by who? Do you remember, guys? Anyone who coined this MBCR?
I have heard it from Natalie before.
Okay, great, Mimi. It was founded by John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn was a molecular biologist. He was a scientist. And he established this in 1979, 1980s, you know, kind of 30 years ago in a I think it was Massachusetts Institute in a university. And his aim in MB, mindfulness-based stress reduction in 80s, his aim was to take the people with chronic back pains, tumors, you know, cancers, you know, with a strong bodily pains, you know, chronic pains, and train them for a while, you know, for 8 weeks. At the moment, it's 8 weeks duration education, and then basically see how they would do after this training. And it came out that many participants scientifically produced less level of cortisol, or, you know, the feeling of the acute pain has dropped in a considerable amount. And there has been so many studies have done afterwards in the last 30 years, and it's always the case. So that means that MBCR works. That is, the mindfulness works. Of course, John Kabat-Zinn's technique is a little bit different. It more focuses on the body work, body scanning, you know, in order to increase the awareness of humans in touchness with their own bodies. Whereas, you know, Zen Buddhism, you know, the Tara Brach or self-compassion focused therapy, they have different priorities while they design their course. But the idea is the same, and John Kabat-Zinn is, in a sense, one of my heroes. I really appreciate what he did, because this guy was trying to find an alternative method against the pharmaceutical companies. That the pharmaceutical companies were trying to put a lot of, you know, pills into people. And what John Kabat-Zinn, through this method, find out or proved, in a sense, is that through non-medicine alternative way, human beings feel their pain or cope with their pain, not feel, cope with the pain, with the suffering in a much more spacious way. So, and that would be really one of the amazing results, and why really I appreciate. You can find his speeches in YouTube, his books. He wrote a very large volume of book, Full Catastrophe of Living. He's just amazing guy. He's just amazing guy.
How do you spell his surname?
Zin, Z-I-N-N,
Zin.
John Kabat-Zinn, I-N-N.
And C-A-B-A-R.
Can you
Yes.
write it in the chat, please?
Excuse me? Anita,
If you write the name in the chat,
sure,
it will be.
Sure, I'll write it down.
How do I get to this chat thing?
Yeah, I wrote it down, and you can always search it in Google later if you want to find information about MBSR. Okay. And what I would be coming at here
Zin.
is that the Buddhist, why it's so important for Buddhism to really cultivate mindfulness, is not to get fixated with thoughts and not to lose ourselves in the world of thoughts. And basically to be able to heal ourselves in the long run in the presence process. And in Buddhism, there is a great analogy that the mind, our mind, is referred, there is an analogy of the mind as a monkey mind. So, and it's a great phenomenology of a human being that it shows. It's a great insight into the nature of how we live in our daily life, that we are always trying to strive for something, always thinking so many thoughts without an awareness of it. That it's called a monkey mind, that the human beings have a monkey mind, the chatter mind, that just like the monkeys jump from one tree to other tree, that they cannot sit still, so the mind, the phenomenology of the mind, is being referred to as the monkey mind. So with the development of Buddhism and the Zen Buddhism, there are Mahayana Buddhism, there are a lot of its traditions, great traditions. There is the practice of stilling the distilled monkey. That is the monkey chatter mind. We are trying to still it. Well, that brings first clarity to people. That brings consciousness to people. That brings spaciousness to people. Because if you stay in your mind within the thoughts all the time, then the mind and the brain, your mind becomes claustrophobic place. That there is no any other space for these thoughts, and that they just cover all of the place. And just like I talk about this in the last lecture as well about the Christianity, just like Christianity, these esoteric traditions put emphasis on certain values. So in Christianity, particularly the way that Jesus lived and preached about love, we have love and forgiveness, and love of God, agape, coming from to everyone as an unconditional. In Buddhism, we have compassion and loving kindness. Compassion and loving kindness. And that's the the Buddhist eschatology, that is the Buddhist vision of humanity, is that in each of us there is each of us has a Buddha nature, but it's hidden, you know, it's inside of us, but certainly we need to find it out. And you can find that Buddha nature, which everyone is endowed with, through practice of certain methods and certain and cultivating certain approaches and certain I would say virtues, that would be a better term for it. And those virtues are loving kindness and compassion. So that is particularly the part that the cognitive behavioral therapy and many therapies today in psychology or coaching world are taking on to integrate into the systems of the different various you know, therapy. You know, we have Gestalt therapy, we have cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive therapy. You know, we have so many kind of therapies that we use or are being developed as a system, as a school of thought. We have humanist school, Carl Rogers, I mentioned it about as well. They have different things. We have nonviolent communication coming from, again, humanist tradition, which I mentioned last week. But what is important here is that we need to not only have a loving kindness or have an approach of a loving kindness towards the world, but also towards us. Loving kindness and compassion towards inward. So it goes inward, and because there is inward, it comes outward as well. It has to start with inward process, basically, in Buddhism, and that's why there is a meditation and many other practices. The other most important thing for communication, I'm giving a kind of a little bit abstract background, but I think it's a good to find out the philosophical, or to emphasize the philosophical foundations of these approaches. But the other most important thing for communication that are most useful, I think, of mindfulness is right intention and right speech. You know, for Buddha laid out 8 paths, 8, you know, he has 4 golden truths, noble truths. Life is suffering and desire causes, you know, desires are the roots of suffering. And then he lays out the way for nirvana. But then he laid out 8 practices that we need to do in our daily life, everyday life, in order to be attuned with the teachings. And 2 of them is the right intention and right speech. Now, this is what I find the most critical and crucial for communication purposes. Because, why? Because, for instance, when I was in my 20s, and I was going to university, I was studying politics, history, philosophy, there was no emphasis to me, never in the education system, that it's good to say what is right, but there was no emphasis about, okay, you say what is right, but then in a kind way, you say it in a kind way. So, as Mimi is saying, for instance, you can get annoyed with people. We all do. We can get annoyed with ourselves. We all do. But when it comes to expressing that, we first ask, what is our intention in this conversation? What is our intention in this sentence that we'll construct? What is our intention with this person that we are interacting with. Sometimes in life, we lose our intention. We are not aware of it. We are just annoyed and we want to say something. That's it. It's so fast. We are not even have the self-awareness of it. It just comes out. Whereas we always need to be mindful and be self-aware that we follow the right intention. Because if our intention is not anchored in the loving kindness, compassion, connection, dialogue, kind of expressing our needs or requesting our needs, requesting our concerns, requesting or asking for help, maybe, if we don't really see our intentions clearly, then our speech will be everywhere out there. And what I observe also, basically from myself, working with myself and with people, sometimes we do not mean to have bad intentions, or we do not mean to have ill intentions, but because we are annoyed, afraid, angry, hurt, resentful, painful, sad, upset, disappointed, you all name it. Because of those feelings, our speech comes out in a way that might be not kind and might be hurtful. Everything that I write, everything that I try to speak, the first question I am asking to myself is this: is what I'm going to write or say, is it in accordance with non-harming principle? I want you to really kind of zoom on that. The non-harming principle. Because if I'm not watchful or mindful of my judgments, of how I am passing a judgment to a person and just saying it as it comes to any other person, it might, without knowingly or without being aware of it, it might lead to harming principle. So that's why being compassionate and considerate and mindful of our speech is so critical. So basically, I want you to add these to that formula that we talked about last week about observation. You remember we had this observation principle, so that instead of passing judgment to people, we say about what we are observing, not what we are judging, because judgments are hurtful. We learn judgments as we grow up. We learn from our parents and from school and from society. And as we are being judged, we learn how to judge other people. And then we lose all the energy of the childhood because judgments are harsh, they are painful, and people hurt each other with those judgments. Okay? And then the second formula, second part of the nonviolent communication, was to become aware and feel the feelings, because people sometimes, just like they are not aware of their thoughts, they are not aware really of the present moment of their bodily sensations, how hurt they are, how angry they are. And it's just like a burning flame. Yes? And that's how Buddha was able to sit for 40 days under the Buddha tree. And he cut all the projections that he made to the world. Because if your mind is projecting to the outside world, external world, and you don't turn inwards and your projections light out there, there is no way to find your inner inner dimensions, inner layers that will lead you to Buddha nature. Okay, in psychotherapy, in Jungian psychotherapy, this is called the separatio of the individuation phases, because Jung was very interested in the alchemy, and he was reading the text, and the separation of the individual from the outside world is the first principle of the alchemy, and it's also what is called in the cognitive psychology the creating a firm ego, in the sense of healthy ego, is also equivalent to this. Is necessary to become aware of your projections, introjections, and everything that you were actually basically have been, that we have taken upon the judgment, the value systems, the belief system, the thought systems. You know, for instance, let's say if my father is a person who judges people harshly because that's how he learned, then me raising up by observing and modeling him I will end up judging people harshly. And I will see the world and people through those harsh filters. And that would cost me a lot in connecting with people and connecting with myself. And I will not be aware of it because they are given. That's why Buddha left home, left the palace. That's also a great journey. Buddha's life is a great journey of an individuation phase. He left the palace to find himself. There is no maturity and growing up inside your parents' house. He left the palace, all the comfort zone, and he went out to meet the world. And the first thing he found out, anyway, outside of palace, was a sick man, death. The second he found out was a poor man, hunger. So he was confronted with the reality of death and the reality of that the people are, not everyone is living in a palace, you know, in this world. There's a suffering in this world. People are still dying in Africa, the kids, as we speak, you know. People are, the global warming is happening, the ices are melting. We have COVID because of the environmental crisis. It's all the human greed and the capitalism. Certainly human greed was there before capitalism, but now with the advanced technology, the greed, human greed, has expanded itself to enormous destructive levels, yes? And we are living it now. In Australia, we had a lot of fires this year that with the global warming is gonna start happening. So that's why coming back again, I kind of gave a background, coming back again, that's why it's quite important that we start questioning ourselves. These are all a wonderful journey of how philosophy started in ancient Greece with know yourself, know thyself. In the Delphi Oracle, it's written, know thyself, yes? And then Socrates was the person who we are known about asking, who are you? And the virtue is, our virtue is to examine ourselves in all our whole lives. And that's why in nonviolent communication, the first thing we start is not a judgment, is not a moralistic judgment on people, putting adjectives to people. You are this, you are that, you are labeling people, but we only say the event, what happened, without any harsh judgments instructed in it. Then we look at our feelings so that we are mindful of them, and then we connect to the needs behind the feelings, and then we request our concerns, wishes, desires, or whatever it is to people. Now, in this seminar, now that we kind of I gave you the why, like why Buddhism is, or why mindfulness is so vital for the world, for humanity. It's important that we also enter a little bit to cognitive dissonances that we humans engage in our everyday life, when we are worried, when we are anxious, or it's usually becomes our thought patterns, our belief systems. There are so many of them, so many belief systems we took upon from our society without questioning, from our teachers without questioning, from our parents without questioning. We didn't question them. We just adapted to this world. And you know, in the Jungian psychology, the first phase of life, it's around till 30, 35. You adapt to the world, you develop an ego, you do a career, you become someone, you become a good, I don't know, academic. I happen to become an academic. I did my PhD. Other people become an engineer, psychologist. They married, and so they complete that part of creating a social identity, social psychological identity, and they try to kind of create their own ego. And then, but the second phase of life, we start to say, okay, so is this all about? I did, I excelled on what I wanted. I did a career. So what's now? What's the meaning of life? Is there anything I strived, I achieved many things. Now the question is, then what are the more deeper values that makes me inspired in life and connected with every human being existence, makes me whole? Because the individuation process, both in Jungian psychology and psychosynthesis, coming from Plato, it's a long tradition in philosophy and esoteric traditions. We always try to become whole within us and with the world. All right? So I kind of started that way. Now it's like 8 o'clock. Anyone would like to contribute at the moment, now that I gave a kind of a philosophical background of why it's so important? Anyone wants to contribute, please join me, or say your thoughts. What do you think about it? Do you see any connection of why I explained this instead of giving you techniques about communication? Because
Yeah, I have a question.
Because we need to really understand where we are coming from as an intention and the right speech in that sense.
Okay.
Yes, Tumarabi, please.
I just want to grab it before it gets too much away from me. You said that there are 8 practices, right? And you said that 2 of them, most important, is life intention and life is speech, right? If you got the right intention, the right speech, no problem. So you stress the point of intention always being there in what we're going to say before we say. Then you moved on to, you said 3 things, and I don't know where this belongs, but it says that in my communication, it should be non-harming in principle and not judgmental. That was 1 of the 2 or 3, I think you said. And then you mentioned about becoming aware of our feelings and body sensations, thoughts, emotions, whatever. Then you said separating of individual from the outside world. Is this number 3? Then
Yes.
you talked about knowing thyself, that as the Greek said, right? Socrates asks who you are.
Yes.
And then you mentioned about NVC and the NVC process, that not being judgmental, not blaming, making people wrong and whatever, and just look at the facts only,
Mm-hmm.
and go behind those facts. What is the need being communicated by the other, right? And then connect to the needs behind the feelings being expressed to you and make a request. So is this your feelings and your needs, or is it, when you're saying that without making people wrong, when you are listening, look at the facts, or is it your facts you're talking about, or both?
Great. I would like to really thank you for kind of summing up, actually, of
Oh, that's good. Okay.
of the many things I kind of think. So, and as you were talking, thanks a lot. I need to emphasize, actually, what I'm trying to do there is kind of, I was able to crystallize now as you were talking. I am trying to also emphasize how nonviolent communication has overlaps with mindfulness in a philosophical, psychological, and a human dimension level. Because one of the first emphases of mindfulness is to remain in the present process in a non-judgmental way.
Okay.
So your thoughts arises, you do not judge them, you allow them. Your feelings arises, you do not judge them, you allow them and you recognize them. That's what it's training you to be in the present with yourself, with your thoughts, allowing it, recognizing it, investigating it, and in a kind way, inquiring it. And that's indeed the compassion arises when we are able to go beyond our judgments. And it's the part of the mindfulness tradition starts with non-judgmental attention to the present moment. Non-judgmental is one of the pillar values of both mindfulness-based stress reduction and Zen Buddhism and everything. So it's basically what nonviolent communication is doing. It's giving you a very strong distinction that, look, what you've been taught as judgment, and everyone is judging as if it's normal, is creating walls and blocks between yourself and the rest of the human beings. And that there is a way out of this process, and that's observation, not judgment. Because we are judging things based on assumptions and based on cognitive distortions of the facts. So in Landmark, we have facts, events, and the story. And here, Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication, is trying to tell you, let's, instead of, when we communicate, instead of putting labels, let's talk about what happened and how what happened, observation, led you to think, feel, need, and what's your request about it. Does that?
Isn't that what happened the same thing as what saw?
Bravo, yes, it is what is so, yes.
What saw itself is, what's the picture, what is the picture there? What happened? What were the virtues? What was happening really as an observatory way?
Mm-hmm.
Independent observation of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, body sensations, and all the rest of it. And also, you're making reference to nonviolent communication and mindfulness at the same time. It's good that you're bringing into landmark distinctions in it as well, so that we can all put them together in one picture.
Bravo.
Right? So we can see where mindfulness is filling in which spaces that we have not filled up yet. I'm listening to what is there that one technology did not cover well enough. So that I can basically enhance my communication, my way of being with communication. Like everything you said about judgmental, making wrong and all that is on the left-hand side of the old model. I mean, I'm bringing it in again because you brought the subject of being holistic and seeing where really one feels in the whole, makes us understand the world of communication better.
Yes, yes,
Okay?
yes, definitely, definitely. With the mindfulness, the distinction is really to put yourself for half an hour on the present process, just being there with yourself and turning inward. You know, like how turtles, you know, they have a head outward, but they sometimes turn inward. You know, so it's like a turning inward for introspection. And the method, the mindfulness awareness, I think would be the technology of Buddhism that is a gift to all humanity. So, but the philosophy, I would say, has a strong parallels, as you mentioned. I certainly agree with you. And the second thing, because I'm going to talk about now cognitive behavioral therapy, and I will, in the second half, I will also show you. This half was a little bit, I can understand, was a conceptual, was a kind of a background, but in the second half, I will show PowerPoint presentations.
Good.
I need you to, what is so, the event, the cognitive behavioral therapy founded by Beck and the rational emotive therapy by Robert Elias, they all take their starting points from Stoicism, which is founded by Zenon in ancient Greece, and Zenon was actually from Cyprus. Zenon was the founder of Stoicism, and then the Stoicism grew up in Roman Empire by, we have Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, who wrote the Meditations. We have Epictetus, who was he was a slave Epictetus, but he founded his own own philosophy school. What is important in Stoicism that cognitive behavioral therapy took upon is this sentence. And I will repeat it, and please tell me what you think. So Epictetus said, it is not the things in themselves that makes us upset. It's our view of things that makes us upset. So I'll repeat this again. The foundational philosophy of both cognitive behavioral therapy and rational emotive therapy derives from or largely inspired by Stoicism, whose one of the inspiring quotes is, it is not the things in themselves that upset us, but our view, our perspective, our stories, meaning-making things that we put on what is so, the things in themselves that makes us upset. And another great pillar of Stoicism, which is also, I'm sure it will resonate with you very deeply, is try to focus, and that's Marcus Aurelius, on what you can do. And if you do not have a control over the world, or you do not have a control over the external factors, then do not kill yourself or worry yourself or beat yourself up about trying to control the external events that you do not have any control. Control and focus on what you can do, or how you can cope or respond to the situation in a best available way. And in the second half, I will show you with PowerPoint presentations how cognitive behavioral therapy built upon these ideas, and how with mindfulness they can help us for both our way of identifying our own cognitive biases, dissonances, so that we can have a cognitive flexibility, have an open sky mind, and we are fully there in connection, in deep connection, and in a cultivating connectedness, oneness with people while communicating. Yes, Mimi, how does that sound? Or like what is there for you after I say this? Thanks for your contribution.
Well, that's beautiful. Look, it's all, I'm aligned with all that. It's not the what so that upsets us. It is because we don't control it. But what's upsetting us is our thoughts, feelings, emotions, the meanings that we put to it, where it is taking us. And we got control of that. The meanings that we put to it, the story is that we have our point of view.
Yes, great.
The way we observe it, the way we listen to things. If we listen from nothing, we'll only see the what's up. Right? If we don't listen from nothing, that means there's something, and whatever that something is a bloody filter. Because it's a filter coming through to us, we don't see things with the same color or the shape that it is out there. We're only seeing an interpretation of it. And that interpretation upsets us because it's coming from our past, our morass, right? So it's brilliant. You know, it all comes together. I mean, I didn't know who said it before, but, you know, we just said it. It's everything is basically, at the end of the day, is rooted into Buddhism anyway.
Yeah, Buddhism, Stoicism.
One way or another.
You know, these are thousands of years of a wisdom traditions that I think.
Exactly.
Yes. And Sufism, you know, we have Kabbalah in Judaism, we have Gnostics in Christianity, we have Hinduism, you know, these are all, you know, the compassion, non-violence, non-harming is a very strong values that are being upheld by Hinduism, Jainism. And
even Mevlana is sourced from there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is all alignment. I'm hearing it's all coming, putting a shape to it from different angles. Yes.
Yeah, the pieces coming together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment it's like 8:15. I would like to take some comments and then take breaks. Before going to break, we're gonna take 15 minutes break. But before going to break, I would like to invite anyone to just say what are their feelings and thoughts, you know, or any remarks they want to make, their observations, comments, or their feedback, you know. Let us know if you find it too conceptual, it's okay, you can say it. But in the second half, I will try to be more specific. I promise that I'm just a little bit, I like, you know, kind of a philosophy, so.
Well, I like the answer of Dalai Lama. The happiest time is now. Yes. And I also agree with this, the latest thing you said about Stoicism, that it's our relation to this object, the relation of our biases related to this object. I totally agree. And yes, I tend to think of things also in relation to the self, not only my observation to the object, but also the effect of the object on me, on my biases, on my beliefs, on my safety, etc. This is how I think.
So that you can see your projections better, in a sense, Anita? When you look at the effects of the objects on you, so you can see your trigger points, you know, the complexes or you know, whatever is there, you can see it better way. I think that's why. Yes,
of course. It's related to my memory network also, what it reminds me of, what effect it will have on me later, etc.
May I ask you, because you are a psychologist or you study psychology, can you, I couldn't get there exactly.
No, I am a practicing psychologist. I'm a doctor in psychology and I do CBT and EMDR. And also recommend mindfulness, but I know very little about it, so I'm interested. I'm interested in integrating it into my practice. I also am interested in trainings like certification, etc. But so far, it's very good.
Okay, so so you kind of focused or specialize on cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Yes.
And
EMDR, eye movement desensitization therapy, in which we use a lot of mindfulness, and some of the mindfulness exercises I have read, we use them in EMDR without saying it's mindfulness, but actually it is.
Yes, yes. The reason why I ask is because maybe some people haven't heard about EMDR. You want to say something about it, just like how it was founded in 80s and
yes, if you are interested, yes.
Yeah, I think people would like to hear and how it's useful.
We are interested, please.
Okay, EMDR was founded in the 80s by Francine Shapiro. Francine Shapiro had some kind of she had heard that she had cancer. This is the story that I know about her. And then she was very upset, very stressed. And one day she experienced that her eyes were moving in a very unusual way. And immediately she felt that she is not stressed anymore. And she later wanted to discover, like, why am I not stressed anymore? She did researches and she made teams and to find out more about it, and she discovered that the eye movement, which is very much like REM sleep movement in the eye, when we sleep, that our eyes move in the REM episode of the sleep. So she developed this, and also it's a cumulative work. We are a very big group of people all around the world practicing it, teaching it, consulting it, etc., etc. We have a yearly conference, but this year it wasn't held because of the corona. But basically, it is very much directed to or helpful to trauma. So traumatized people are people who can benefit from EMDR, but lately EMDR is practiced also in many other areas, and it uses a lot of mindfulness exercises to establish like stabilization, etc. I don't know if I'm clear.
No, that's wonderful. It's very clear, and thanks for sharing it so that other people heard about it. I studied it as well, and it's very rapidly growing society or in a therapy because it's being effective. Just like CBT.
Yes, very.
When CBT came out by Aaron Beck, it came out and became, huge and dominant actually at the moment because it was more helpful than Freud's psychoanalysis to people. Well, at least according to Beck, yeah?
Yes, of course. And now I started with CBT, but I am less and less turning to CBT because people who come are actually people who are traumatized in some way. So CBT is less practice in my clinic.
And CBT, my observation, you tell me as a practicing psychologist also, please do share. CBT, because it works mostly at the mind level, the thinking level, does not really enter into the soul or into the very in-depth emotions and all the traumas. My experience is that I work with people at CBT level. They are fine at that moment, but then a couple hours later or even a day later, if they are not grounded with other kind of MDR and mindfulness, then they will again will be easy to shake upon. I don't know. That has been my observation. What's your
Yes,
observation so
because
far?
a lot of traumas are rooted in childhood, and CBT doesn't like going into the past very much. They are always, the here and now of CBT is not very practical. This is what I mean.
They are focus oriented because they are goal oriented.
Yes,
And
yes, goal oriented, and they ignore the past largely.
Yes, yes. And you know, the past, the traumas, yes, and they need to be healed, as you said, in the psyche. That's why I also
Yes.
like Jung a lot, because Jung also thought that we need to release that energy and find the healing energy inside of us. And I believe both the in-depth psychology, mindfulness, and MDR and other techniques help people at a deeper level. You know, at a not only mind, cognitive mind level, but at other parts of our psyche.
Yes, and I think EMDR integrates a lot of CBT in itself, integrates so many things, not very clearly, not very visibly, but I see it integrates CBT, it integrates psychoanalysis, it integrates so many things in it without telling it, openly.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes, definitely, and mindfulness as well. But the practice is good. You know, there is a practice about it. Just like meditation is a practice that you can, like a gardening. Yeah, there is a practice that anchors you, that develops you constantly. Help, you know, that when individual stays with themselves, it kind of gives tools that you develop yourself, cultivate yourself. That's what I like about these schools.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
So you are a psychologist yourself?
I'm an academic. I did my PhD on politics discipline, but after the age of 33, 35, I focused on psychology and read extensively and practice as well extensively. But I'm not how do you call a licensed psychologist. But I teach psychology to university students, yes, or philosophy, or
and you live in Cyprus?
Yes, Cyprus. So I teach philosophy, religion, philosophy, all these kind of interdisciplinary things. I come more from philosophy. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Thank you. So it's great that you are here. How many years you have been practicing, Anita? It's great that there is a person who is in the field.
2000, it is since 2006, which is like 14 years.
14 years. That's a great amount of experience and wisdom you have there, Anita. Great.
Yes, but before that, I was an artist.
Really?
Yes.
So you painted?
What kind of art?
I do installation art, video art, things like that. And I've been to Cyprus many times for my art shows.
Wow.
Let us know next time so we can see. I'll come from Australia.
So all of you are from Cyprus?
Wow. That's good. Well, you sounded like Cypriot anyway, so.
Well, I can tell you a secret that I have the Greek passport also.
Okay, well, that's good.
So
now, I was asking, what EMBR standing for again? What's the opening for EMBR?
It's EMDR. It stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing.
Eye movement.
Desensitization.
Desensitization.
Or desensitizing, can say, and reprocessing. Which means when you are very irritated about a memory, about an event, the EMDR protocol desensitizes it, so you don't feel as bad about it. And then it reprocesses it, so you can think about it in a non-threatening way.
What is the best simple good article to read about this?
It's all over. Write EMDR, it's all over, millions of articles.
Yeah, just but I want the nice condensed one. If I was a student, which one would be the one that you would want me to read, which is not too much more than a couple of thousand words?
I can't remember anymore of the articles I have read. I'm practicing, but I can write to this email that I received some links.
Good.
I can send you a video. I can send you a video.
Yeah, send the link to Bilge. Bilge can give it to us, or you can send it to me directly too. Bilge will probably have our emails.
You can even share it from here if you find the chat. If not through email on it, I would like to really share and keep in touch with you.
But so is the chat going to be kept for later on, Bilge? Because we can't see it now. We can't copy and paste it now.
Okay.
You cannot.
Is the chat going to be preserved for later for us to look?
Look. The best place to look is EMDR IA. It is the International Association of EMDR. When you look at it, okay. I will write it to you. EMDRIA.org, I think. And they have many videos, they have many explanations, very short, but I will look at it.
Okay, so I want to basically move on about from the nonviolent communication, and then basically so I will start how we can listen, what's the nonviolent communication has developed as a empathy, as a method of empathy and paraphrasing. And in counseling and in the psychology, these are called in Rogerian in the Rogerian technique, paraphrasing, probing. So you basically paraphrase what the client is telling you to gain clarity or to kind of find a connection. You probe in order to, in a Socratic dialogue way, to make them maybe more aware, I would say, or more kind of give more focus onto that area. Now, because in the nonviolent communication, once we feel our feelings and then connect to the need behind our feelings, the energy changes because we become connected to our own body, and from our own body to our own universal needs and to our requests. Now, in the first seminar last week, we did exercises on how ourselves can understand our feelings, do observations without judgment, understand our feelings, or feel our feelings, not understand actually, and then the needs behind those feelings. So if we feel upset, it's because our unmet need for maybe connection, for quality time, for love, for respect, for autonomy, all these needs that we talk about, and we gave some examples to really kind of crystallize it. Now here, because we did we expressing to the world, now once we start articulating it, we need to realize that the people in everyday life, unless they are trained in counseling and psychology or other philosophy or other some stuff, many people are not mindful or aware or self-consciously aware of their own feelings. So if they are really upset, if they are angry, if they are disappointed, if they are irritated, they don't have that body awareness at the present moment to really feel their feelings, not necessarily. They don't also, in the moment of connecting to their needs. So when we listen to people, we listen people for their feelings, and we kind of try to understand if they're upset, what might be the need behind those feelings, and that we try to flip the request rather than saying, I would like to request that, kind of redoing the request. We are asking that person how we can meet those people's needs. So in a very kind of this is a very kind of a empathic and sharing in a helpful way, in a sense. So as you can see, I like this concept, the 4 things that we articulate when we speak to people, and 4 things when we are listening to people. And again, here, the energy, our focus, our attention is to first and foremost to understand the person in front of us. Now I will repeat this because it's kind of really basics of a mindful communication. Our priorities, one of our priorities in mindful communication is not to lecture, recommend, advise necessarily, preach to people. It's not our first priority. Our first priority is to understand what's going on with that person in front of us in many dimensions. What's happening with their feelings at the moment, in the moment, this person in front of us, what is their bodily sensations, just like we are in the moment and trying to really allowing ourselves to be with the moment in order to observe our own selves in a non-judgmental way, so that through non-judgmental way we can be with ourselves, with our sometimes even difficult feelings. Yes, anger is can be a difficult feeling. Being sad, upset, deep sadness, grief is a very, difficult feeling as well. And we working with ourselves now is the time for us to be that space, open space for people to show up with their own feelings and the way, however they are, in a non-judgmental way. Mimi was saying that we listen to people from empty space. So what is so important about listening people from nothing, from empty space, which is again a concept from Buddhism and Taoism, the emptiness. When we listen to people from empty space, they feel the emptiness in us, the void, which is creative and non-judgmental. Because if we listen them through judgmental filters, they cannot really come to us, or that we cannot really connect. They cannot really show up the way actually they are. Whereas when we listen to people from empty space and we are attuned, we are trying, our focus is to really understand the other person in an empathic way. And there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. That's a very known thing in psychology. Sympathy is like, oh, poor you, I swear I'm sorry that this happened to you. Empathy is about complete understanding, complete connection, and complete I and you relationship. I and you. And there is a dialogue and dialogic relationship, connectedness and oneness between two persons. And so when we probe, are you feeling upset or because of this happened, observation, when I see you observing you, so we don't use again judgment. When I observe that you doing this, are you feeling this way? Maybe you need this, or maybe, so we are probing, because again, it takes time and work for us to really get in touch with our own feelings and needs in our daily life. So it's really an offer, a compassionate way of listening people, and kind of really being a catalyzer to the people in front of us by probing these questions, so that they can find out for themselves what they are feeling and what's actually bothering them and what's their needs, and what we can do in the request part, or what kind of alternative ways we can construct or produce or offer for them to make life more wonderful, or to solve whatever the deadlock they are in. Okay, so I wanted to emphasize this part, because it's not only how we speak, but how we listen. We need to listen for the other people's feelings and needs as well. All right. And, I like the way in nonviolent communication, we have two kind of symbols and metaphors, a metaphor of a jackal inside of us and a giraffe inside of us. So that means that every human being has a jackal inside them and a giraffe inside them. So a jackal in this part is moralistic judgment, jackal, power over others, domination. Yes, reacting to external pressures, conditioned to authority, head thinking, speaking, listening from the head, making judgments, all analytic. I see that a lot of that in academia, thinking all the time and judging, and academics are great jackals because they are really trained to analyze and judge from the head, not going to the body, not going to the heart. Whereas in the giraffe, life-serving, request, that's a very kind of also really connects with Buddhism, life-serving. When you listen for other people's needs and feelings, and really your priority is to connect with them and to understand them, that's a life-serving energy. You see, it starts with intent to connect. Goal is to create mutual understanding, enabling all needs to be met. So again, the intention is there. Intention is connection, not me explaining things or talking about what I think is right, what I think is the right version, right perspective, right thing to do. Now, intention is to connect. It always happens, yes? You say something that, oh, you had a bad day and this person behaved like this to me. You're just trying to kind of open up. You had a stressful day, and your friend starts to giving you a lecture, like oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. There are some people who think that they have the solution to everything, and they have formulas for everything. And they start, and how do you feel? You feel that that person is not really understanding you or hearing you, not understanding, but even hearing you, not connecting to you. They're talking from their heads about some idea of what is right, how it should be, and how they are doing it, and how you should do it. Oh, wait a minute, slow down. Again, slow the pace down. It's all very fast in the head. Everything, the thoughts and it, and this. First connect with the other person and really see what's going on with them. How they are having the life. And then once we connect with them, then we can, after listening and hearing them, we can suggest some alternatives or perspectives from, so that they can have a multi-perspective looking at the issue or the problem rather than looking from one perspective, because sometimes we do hold on to a perspectives that are self-defying, that are not helpful, actually that are harmful, self-harm. We do use that a lot. So again, it's not a coincidence that you see intention to connect here. And heart is here, choice, becoming, the process. Power with others. I really love these concepts. Power with others. Not power over others, but a power with others. So a counselor, a psychologist, or a good coach that knows what he's doing, their ultimate aim is to empower the other person so that the other person can find out for themselves what is the best solution for them without being dependent on us. So this is very important. That here is not a relationship of dependency. So there is no powering against others, but it's like you powering with others, creating kind of in a connecting way. Okay, so this is the space that we come from in conversations and in the communication, mindful communication. To be honest with you. Okay, so here are the examples. Expressing with compassion. This is the things that we did again. Yeah, these are the, okay. This is this part is very important in the sense that this is not a good way of either listening to people or communicating with people. And we kind of do it a lot, blaming, judging, labeling, obeying, desiring, comparing, being right, and assuming. We can enter into, I can give all examples with that, but I have to go a little bit, fast over them. But just think of about these, whether you are blaming, insinuating blame. Sometimes we do indirectly, yes. Sometimes we do it indirectly. It's in the space. And then, no, I didn't mean that, but we sometimes insinuate it, implied. So that's the vocabulary of feelings, because some of our, we are not trained to express our feelings. There is no education that does this in the elementary school, high school, and university. If you are studying psychology or these kind of things, yes, but not many other people do. And this is a really life skills. These are real life skills. And look, this is a great leisure, celebration. These are all needs, guys, that are universal. Freedom, autonomy, choice, understanding, transcendence, creation, participation, protect, security, identity, affection, care, subsistence. They are all beautiful needs. And then the life, then kind of trying to. It's not about the fight between the two people, or who is right or who is wrong, or who's going to dominate, but about how we can meet our needs. So there's that perspective, compassionate perspective to it, of the mindful communication. Okay, so that would be in the mindful communication. I would say that's so important that we are mindful of these when either listening people or talking with people. Yes. because most of the communication we do is non-verbal. If you're not mindful, so you don't have to really speak to people sometimes to be mindless. So sometimes people will explain you important things about themselves and you are not there, you are not in the moment, you are somewhere else in your head, you are not connected. You know, that's also another, that would be another thing. So it includes many things. Okay. To yes, see. Okay, this is a kind of a basic. Can you see the slides, guys, in a good way? Are they clear? So this is the cognitive thinking, and we mentioned about it in the first half. ABC, the events at the left is what is so, the world, other people, experiences, history, future self, what's happening in the world, what is so, what is going on in the world. And the B is our filters, as Mimi was saying. Yes. And the filters, it's just one word, filters, but it's so much that we need to dig on it. You know, the meanings that we are putting on the events, the beliefs, the belief systems that we have, including political beliefs, including the beliefs about universe, about life, about world, about God, about everything. You know, we are full of beliefs and we think that they are the truth. Because we acquired them or we adopted them at certain life, we didn't really question them. That's why self-questioning, self-analysis, or self-knowledge that started with the philosophy of Socrates is so foundational to all these education, attitudes, rules. We have rules for things. We develop rules things. Yes, so thoughts, when we say thoughts, it's just like a thoughts, it's one sentence, but it's so deep, you know. And then of course in advanced or in more detailed discussions we have schemas in the cognitive behavioral therapy, but I want you to here emphasize the beliefs, because we have so many beliefs that we think that they are thoughts, that we really kind of rationally thought that about them and arrived to a scientific conclusion about them, whereas they are just a belief system. And unfortunately, many of them are what we call limiting belief systems, that limits our perspective to see, observe, engage with the world and with other people. They limit us. They limit our capacity for connection. They limit our capacity to self-actualization, creation, you know, our feeling, our beliefs about ourselves, about who we are, you know, how fixed we are in the way we look at ourselves and other people, and how we are actually under the capacity to offer more empowering perspectives to other people. Because people do come to us in everyday life with many limiting belief systems. I am not good enough is one of them. I am not enough, whatever enough is one of them. I can't do this, I can't do that. Oh, it's difficult for me. I can't deal with it. I can't do it. You know, I won't do this, I won't be able to do it. You know, so we have all these, I won't, I can't, I shouldn't, I wouldn't. These are all, you know, these are all indicators for, for what's going on in the background, that the person is kind of imposing a self-limiting belief upon them. And then what is important to understand also is how emotions, because you remember how we said about Epictetus, not things in themselves, but about perspectives, beliefs that, or our view of the things, that's what he said, leads us to discomfort. So it's this B that causes reactions or unhealthy feelings or difficult feelings or irritational feelings. And then we can see how then it becomes a loop, because you think that the other person did this in this way and people shouldn't do this, and then constant judgments, and then those stream of thoughts create many reactive feelings in your body, and those feeling things in the bodies reinforces the thoughts in your system. Just to let you know, an idea of that person is annoying, because we started from the very beginning, that thought continues, has an effect of, I think, 1.5 minutes in the body. And don't forget that we keep repeating these thoughts in our head about other people. So just that only that thought leaves its mark in an emotional system for 1.5 minutes. And if you repeat those thoughts, it's there all the time. Okay, so that's how the cognitive behavioral therapy takes a look at it. And what is, here. Activating event, Anita was saying as well, how these, objects and relations leads to emotional consequences because of memory, how it triggers so many things are there. But an event, things in itself is here. And then here at B, we have our own limiting belief systems, cognitive distortions that lead to emotional consequence of anger, upset, disappointment. Oh, life is shit. Oh, life is horrible. People are mean. People are bad. And how these limiting beliefs and emotional consequences kind of makes into a path even in the brain in a neuroscientific way. Because the neurons fire together, guys, and then your brain is shaped in a certain phase, in a vicious cycle way. It's like a repetition of the emotional consequence feed your limiting beliefs, and then your limiting beliefs feed your emotional consequences. Okay, and when it's used here, beliefs. Here, relationships, life-activating events, conversations, personal history. Anita was saying personal history, memory, our expectations. And here, the beliefs, we have judgments and attitudes. And attitudes is very important, like sometimes we walk tense, that's an attitude. Sometimes when there's a person there, and we have certain beliefs about that person, we have an attitude towards them. Maybe we are not that aware of it, but it's there. And here that I talk about the cognitive distortions. The limiting belief systems, the thoughts that really make us painful, negative schemas that find out, negative outlook on reality. I can't do it, poor me. It's everybody's fault. It's not my fault. It's everybody to blame. He's that, she's that, it's that. That kind of a thing that we are talking about. And he devised 14 of them. There are more, believe me. But it's good to start. Self-victimization. Poor me. We kind of, all of us here, because we worked together before, went through this, how we thought that we were the victim of situation and blaming, and then we took a responsibility in our life and we said, no, this is not a helpful way. We can look from, okay, things happen, but we can look from what can I learn, grow, and take responsibility for this. This we do it in so many education that we work together for the last 4 or 5 years. And that's why we grow. And then there was an energy, that upward energy, yes, that we get out of it. Yes, so you can see it here in these are the most common cognitive distortions. Polarized thinking. This polarized thinking, black and white thinking, happens so much in politics that it really is, you want to run away from it. It's so much, there is so much cognitive distortion in polarized thinking in politics, where people are grouped in the ideological camps, you know, whether it's left, right, or it's like an identity politics. And it's all about white and black, and there is no gray, and there is no the middle, the Tao, where you can have to objectively see the both sides at the same time and try to kind of to pull the both sides together. No, not that wisdom. It's all about white and black, jumping to conclusions, making assumptions. It happens so fast that we don't even realize it. But it's always good to have this list and work it through many times, not once, many times, because in the mindfulness, why mindfulness works, it slows you down. Because it slows you down, you start to see your own thoughts. And your own thoughts, you start to see how they are cognitively biased and distorted in some areas. Okay, so that's why it's important to slow down. This is not just something to memorize as an academic knowledge. This is a lifetime work in identifying the patterns in ourselves and in other people. Not to blame them, not to say them, oh, you are doing this fallacy, mate, but to identify that the person, because, you know, our first most focus is to understand the other person. So when you understand that a person is engaging with a polarized thinking or the self-victimization, personalization, you know, the worst case scenario, we do that a lot. As soon as we are anxious about something where there is a medium level of anxiety, the worst case scenario comes to our mind. We catastrophize events when we are anxious, or we are even worried. You know, our mind automatically, just automatic because of the evolution system, creates the worst case scenario without us even being aware of it. And then what happens? That worst case scenario takes you like a shower takes you, or like a waterfall takes you, and drags you away, throws you away like as if you are a piece of wood. You know, you don't have a control over it. You have no awareness over it. You just go along with it wherever it carries you. There is no consciousness there, self-consciousness. There is no self-awareness, and there is no presence. Okay, imagine, you know, when you get angry, or when you are when we argue with people, everything is so fly. Everything is so fast because we are in the reactive mode. We are in the what is in cognitive, again in the discipline of behavioral cognitive psychology, we have fight, flight, and freeze mechanism, just like many animals and mammals especially. And it's been there, it's been wired for millions of years now in our genes and in amygdala, which controls the emotional part of the brain. So in cognitive science, the science of it now at the moment in neuroscience, we have identified that the human brain is largely, like this is, there is more details to it, but the human brain is made up of three parts. The first part is what is called traditionally the reptile brain, where is the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism is restored, is developed, throughout the evolution. That's why it's called reptile. And then the last part, the latest developed part in the evolution is the frontal cortex, this part. And if you look at humans, their brain of the frontal cortex is the one that is biggest compared to their body. The other animals do not have this much developed frontal cortex. This is the abstract thinking happens, language happens, mathematical abstraction, music happens, and compassion happens. Compassion is part. Frontal cortex, that we are not, that the brain is not seized by the fight-flight syndrome. Because when it's inside the fight or flight syndrome, we are in the reactive mode anyway. And then when we are in reactive mode, the frontal cortex shut down. So you can't really access what the other person is saying to you. You can't really be there in an empathetic and a compassionate or in allowing sense if you are in a fight-flight zone. And there's no really, the frontal cortex is not really operating at an optimal level. So that's why the mindfulness, it's been come out as a 3,000-year tradition, people just knowing, exercising, and this wisdom tradition, they knew how it helped people. But now with the science, neuroscience, and all the technology, we can see how the mind working really also goes with the wisdom tradition, how it helps us to understand why the brain is doing this and why these kind of things are helping us to regulate ourselves it's kind of demonstrating in a scientific way. Rules, this is the Elias guy, rational emotive therapy. The core beliefs, rules, we have so many of them and we are so unaware of them. And many of us, we think that our values and rules and our convictions are the best. And that we basically judge people from there, many of the time, most of the time. And then sometimes, most of the time, the core beliefs are there to really makes us see the things in a certain perspective, and we think that it's the reality, where it's not. We think it's the objective God truth, and it's not. So as much as we are aware of our own core beliefs that are not empowering or constrain us in a narrow perspectives, we cannot help other people to see, to engage on or rethink their own narrow perspectives or their own limited core beliefs that needs to be re-examined. That's why Socrates' term, unexamined life is not worth living, is very powerful, because we need to re-examine our belief systems and our thought patterns in our life. Because as I emphasized, we did not create them. We think we created maybe, but we didn't create it. We pick it up from our parents, from society, from teachers, from our friends, from our brother, from this, from that, from a movie. We all pick it up. We just absorb it without really, when we are a child and then teenager and then university years, you go and you influenced by a certain, some people become leftists because their role model happens to be a leftist, and they can't really understand why people are right-wing sometimes. And right-wing people can't understand left-wing people because they don't see how they form their own perspectives, how it was constructed through coincidence, actually. So yeah, that I think it's a really mind-opening thing, and it's like a lifetime work. Yeah, people who don't make me happy should be punished. This one. 6, people who don't make me happy should be punished. We do that a lot. We do that since we are kids, and we get better at it as we grow up. It's something else that if a person is engaging with a self-harm or harming of others, it's something to kind of put a distance, because we want to both help them and help people to overcome this self-harm or harming others thing. Yes, but it's another thing that because I'm not happy, or I'm not because the other person hasn't served me, they need to be punished. And I lived this through in that company, because that person wasn't happy. One manager wasn't happy with the choice that I made in the personal development institution. She did try to punish us. She somehow had these self-defeating rules, but because she is not really digging into herself and doing mindfulness or going through all these kind of sessions, she's not catching them, and it's not really working well for her and the people around her. We can go over this again, but I'm just trying to show you what's out there. This is very good. I really like this one, guys. Barriers to effective listening. And yes, for instance, number 7, sympathizing with someone instead of empathizing with them. I just went over with it. I'm trying to show how they overlap, you know, how so many system of thoughts or therapy systems, they kind of they have unique things, but at the same time, they have commonalities that we can, you know, kind of bring them together for a larger view, larger eye, and larger consciousness. Yeah, allowing prejudices and preferences to undermine learning process. That would be not an open view. Yeah, in mindfulness, a person comes to a space of an open sky mind, they call it, that you are open. And you know, we also have a term open-minded and closed-minded, and we have things to measure how people are open-minded and closed-minded. In the psychology, it's an important field. It's an important topic. Preconceived ideas or expectations. We all have a preconceived ideas as we grow up in life. Oh, yes. So, yeah, this one, number 4, you know, Mimi would really relate with this. He studied, you know, communication for many years, and you know the concept of racket, driven more by being right than listening, hearing, and understanding. So it's there as well, this one. So it's always to, again, this is not one time, oh, okay, this is an information. It's good that this guy wrote it. It's actually coming back to it many times while we are sitting in presence. So you can sit mindfulness and observe your thoughts. Now I'm saying I'm going to a different level now. So you can sit, relax, have a present process. Oh, great. I was just being in the moment, everything flowing. Oh, I relaxed. Yeah, you do relax because your levels of cortisol drop down. You put down the stress, you know, the other helpful hormones, serotonin and others, they increase, oxytocin, the connecting hormone, they increase in your body. It's true. It's good. But I mentioned how in the present process, we start to see our thoughts, how they jump, how we are driven by thought, and we come back to the present. We run away. Actually, our thoughts makes us run away. We come back to the present moment. It's run away. We come back to the present moment. And the thoughts have patterns. Now, if you know the cognitive distortion and biases, then you start to see your own cognitive distortion and biases of limiting perspectives that is occurring in your belief systems. Now, that becomes a highly enlightened, growing, maturing experience for an individual. So that's why we have a compassion-focused therapy. We just observe our mind, but not just we observe our thoughts or it's just a thought. We also see the underlying patterns that might constrain us, our view of life, of ourselves, of other people, based on prejudices and superstition. So, and that's very, very important. Look how openness, receptiveness, appreciativeness, and these values are also, particularly appreciativeness and receptiveness and openness is also being emphasized in mindfulness. And responsibility, you know, confidence, faith, maturity, stability, you know, awareness, attentiveness. You know, I'm just trying to show you how they are kind of coming together in a complementary way. We can think many of ways to put them together, complement them together, lead ourselves to higher awareness and also higher consciousness, to be honest with you, and higher understanding of ourselves and the humanity at a larger level. So that's also important. Limiting beliefs, yes, limiting beliefs. You know, I mentioned about the limiting beliefs, belief systems. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old to start anew. I'm not skilled enough. I can handle failing. Money is the root to all evil. Now, many people have this thing. Money is the root to all evil. They have this belief system, and they think they judge people based on this belief system, and they are not aware of it. You know, so for instance, when sometimes we train and we ask for, you know, that some of the courses, they come with the money. You need to pay for these courses. And people say, oh, but why we are paying? Well, you are paying because that person is providing a service, time, energy, and attention. And many people are just, you know, have this really core belief, root belief that they think that money is bad, and that it shapes their cognitive things, how they perceive things, and they think it's that what they are saying is the ultimate truth, but it's just a belief. And it's very easy, you know. We do have, and it's great to really pick up our own belief systems and to really go over them all the time. It's a life learning process, and that's why I love it. I don't think I deserve it. The lack of self-worth, you know, the self-worth, and all these are limiting belief systems. Okay, I like this one. You know, you know, we always try to be this perfection. You know, it's been, you know, when you're a kid, you know, either your parents or your teachers, you know, they push you for this perfection. I love this one. Good enough is just fine. You know, good enough. So you don't have to be always perfect and better, but good enough for your own, you know, whatever your own values, if it's attuned with your values. Good enough is just fine. We are all human. And I love that part. Okay, and yes, the cognitive distortions, guys, the cognitive biases, the limiting belief systems, you know, you can see their results here. Worry, anxiety, fear for future, fueled by feelings, can be reactive anytime, you know, desire to feel constantly gratified. Yeah, so you need people to say good things about you so that you feel good about yourself. You know, they need to praise you, you're great, you're this, you're addicted to it. You know, many people do a lot of in Facebook, many people are actually seeking that gratification. You know, easily angered, arrogance, pride, irresponsibility. Responsibility, of course, is at the top of the thing. And, you know, you need to see how these are parallel with the mindfulness as well. Faith for the future, responsible, humility, honesty, you know, because there is an awareness and an awareness of the body and the moment, the reactions are, we have more space and time to hold our own reactions. It's not that we will not feel irritated. So it's not like that, at least for me, it's not that I don't feel annoyed or irritated. I do, but then when I do mindfulness, there is more space for me to hold that feeling or to hold that thing so that I'm not so quick to
Bilge, humility. Yes. I'm puzzled with the humility bit.
Sure.
Honesty, responsibility, I understand that. Slow to anger, maybe, right? Slow to anger, basically there should be no anger, not even slow. But what's humility doing with all this? Like, is humility, you wouldn't feel how can you feel humility if you know yourself good enough? It's not consistent.
I think they are trying to say humbleness. You know what is being humble, Mimi? Humble.
Humbleness, great. Humility is not humbleness, though. I don't know English as good.
I think humbleness would be a better word choice. I agree with you in that. If they wrote,
is it something that you put together or something you copied?
No, this is
you can change it.
No, this is something I took it from a source.
Okay, fantastic. Can I also request that you click on the picture so we can see it bigger rather than the whole page?
Are you on a slideshow, Mimi?
Yeah, well, show us the slide rather than because it makes it small on the screen.
But we are at the end of it. So you want to see it again, or because I'm going to stop sharing it? I want to have a discussion with you now. I done my presentation.
No. Look, it's just a point that if you get the slide bigger on the screen, we can read the words better. That's all.
Okay.
I'm happy. That's what I mean. Yes.
You can touch the screen. You can touch it and enlarging it yourself, like, you know. That's what I can do on my iPad.
It goes back again. With my finger, I try to expand it, and it shrinks back again, darling. So.
It don't stay. I get it.
Yes, that's right. And, yeah. Okay, continue. What's the last slide, Bilge? I missed the last slide. We went back to the humility, so I missed out the last one.
Okay.
Can you show that one again?
Okay, I'll bring it back to you, Mimi.
Yeah.
Mimi, you know how much we love you.
I interrupted you and we went back to the previous slide. So
sure.
After this one, the next one after this one.
Yes, this one in the Freud's, typical iceberg thing, but this is the iceberg model for cognitive.
Okay, right.
You know how, patterns of behavior, but behind these patterns of behavior, there are beliefs, attitudes, and even at the mental model, schemas, so it's just basically showing that. And this one is, notice how these things are similar to Marshall Rosenberg's blockage for compassionate listening to people, or empathy, using logic, over intellectualizing, advising, offering. I just actually said it in the first half: moralizing, preaching, manipulating. This is the old model, new model, Mimi. You remember that you were making?
It's old model. Yeah, all technology has come to the same conclusion in a way, using the similar sort of concepts, but somehow articulating it a little bit different.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but communication is communication. It's all coming from Buddha. Right?
Yes. I love how he does this, you know. Let me take a picture of it.
The dog.
Oh yes. We are doing
He's licking it.
What's the name?
He's licking us.
This is Princess.
Okay. Mindful licking. I love him.
New model licking.
Yes, new model licking. He does it a lot, huh? The licking part. He does it a lot. It's so funny.
The pugs enjoy doing that a lot.
Okay, I didn't see Henry doing it when we met. You remember?
He started to copy the rest of them now.
Ah, okay. Okay, so guys, basically, I'm going to leave I want to do an exercise on about a little bit about compassion and meditation, but I want to leave it to the Ontology of Peace seminar because it's 9:40 and I want to have a interaction as well before I finish the course. So it's important to me, but I all expect, or I all wish, not expect, let's not use cognitive things. I always wish that we again meet, all of us, on 1st of September for the Ontology of Peace, where we talk about compassion, loving kindness, the alchemy. These are the real alchemy energies that leads to transformation. How we take the anger, the hatred, the resentment, the sadness, the separation, the ego's defense mechanism, and how we can kind of uplift it to a transformative way through these energies, basically, or wisdom tradition. So it will be more, we will have practice, and it will be more focused on this rather than trying to, in the first lecture, in the first seminar and this one, I basically try to put on the different methodologies or system of schools or thoughts that can provide us a transformative communication with people and with ourselves. And in the last one, I will be focusing on more on the transformative ontology of it, of these things. So that's, and in today, I was basically more talking about how we can pick up from different schools of thought about the transformative communication and how they relate to nonviolent communication. And I hope it kind of gave you a broad picture. That was the intention today, or how they, make more connections. Neurons make connections as you put things together. So I hope at least it was able to give you more connections about how these things interact and overlap, actually, and they influence from each other. So please, feedbacks or contributions you want to add, you want to drop, you want to contribute, you want to, some place that you didn't really understand, we can discuss it here, or it wasn't okay, or like it didn't really fit what I was trying to say. Happy to discuss. Let's have a discussion, group discussion.
Well, it was great. Okay, sorry.
That's fine. You go ahead first.
Okay, it was a great revision for me. It's been years I hadn't seen these lists. Alice and Beck, etc. A very great opportunity to revise again. But my question is, when you know all these, how to put it in a mindfulness, how to make it practical? Well, you take a for example, I take a mindfulness class. How we translate these into actual applications? This is my question.
Can you a little bit go on with that so that I can understand what is the
For example,
difficulty?
for example, I'm not a psychologist, and I heard about mindfulness, and I want to take a mindfulness class. Okay? And these ideas are given to me. So what do I benefit from it as a person who wants to practice mindfulness as an exercise? Or mindfulness is just knowledge? I want to know the difference.
Okay. Now, mindfulness is 80%, I would say, practice. In the sense that mindfulness leads you to self-knowledge and self-awareness. If you have these tools, then you have also the knowledge of why you have an open mind when you do mindfulness. Because if you know the cognitive, all the information that I mentioned about the openness and receptiveness, it's not in words anymore if you do mindfulness. It becomes a reality that you practice every day or certain days of a week, where the future and the past diminishes, and then the present moment starts to awaken, and with that your natural resources for the heart and the love and the compassion opens up, and then you are not dominated by your automatic patterns of thought, automatic recurring thoughts. So, and we can, as I said, memorize all these things, but when we say openness, when we say appreciativeness, those qualities, we really feel them in our way of being in the mindfulness practice that we develop.
Yes, I understand this.
Does that answer your question, or you have a
no, maybe I am confusing between, maybe I'm confusing between a yoga class and a mindfulness class.
No,
in a yoga class,
they are two
you
different
go
things.
and do some things,
Oh.
I am confusing between these two. Mindfulness, how it is practiced. Knowledge.
Can I also put something my view in this one, Bilge'ce?
Sure, Mimi. Continue, and
Can you turn my video on, please, because you disabled my video.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I ask for your
right, because I want Anita to see me and hear me. Maybe we can communicate better with visual as well.
Sure.
My understanding is now that mindfulness is more like giving you stuff to think about and be aware and do the more proper things. But I think the question is, how do we really make it in our life that it becomes natural for us? Now, I think you explained it in a good way, Bilge'ce, but you put just one word there, the being. I think the whole thing is starting with the being, which I think next week you're going to talk about ontology of communication, right? Ontology of peace. Now, ontology is the science which looks at the being. If you are being a dog, you bark, right? And you shake your tail, depending on how you feel. There's no other communication there, not much anyway. I know you can say hundreds of communications, but But if you are being, if you become the Buddha, then you don't even think about this. So the question is basically, how do I become Dalai Lama or Buddha? Right? Now, that's the practice, but always, rather than look at the mechanics of what's going on this and that and all that, you resolve every time there's something not going the way you want. If you declare it as a breakdown, and then you distinguish what's happening and what you do to have a breakthrough, and the more you do that, it becomes natural. Then you no longer think about these things anymore. You are being the breakthrough way of communicating and thinking. You with me? And we in Cyprus, we have a structure, a way we organize ourselves that we practice all these, which is in Team Cyprus. So every time we talk, every time we work on a project actions that we do to get some goals or sort of fulfilled, we keep living through breakdowns in our communications, interruptions from our life matters, what's happening in the outside world that we cannot control, right? So that we don't progress as good as we want to progress on our common goal. We have a game plan that to play, for example. But the purpose of that is basically to have people have breakdowns and bring them, and we can resolve them. And that then becomes natural for us not to fall into the same traps anymore. So the process is basically putting into practice, pushing ourselves in a way, in a small group of people to have those breakdowns naturally happening in our lives. Then we can all help each other distinguish all that and move on a daily basis.
Right.
Or a weekly basis. Whenever we meet together, we just discuss what's going on, why certain things didn't happen the way they were, how it was affected. Now, all these technologies that we learn finds itself being practiced and resolved as an ongoing thing. So you naturally undo what your inherited communication has had you do, and you start learning. It becomes automatic for you to react in certain different ways.
Thank you.
Otherwise, it becomes just like a textbook that you always have to refer about what the hell has happened.
Yes, thank you. Yes, the practicality of it and the exercise of it.
That's why in Team Cyprus, for example, we create a common possibility for ourselves. And we say, that's what we're going to have by this time. And when we list out all the actions, people take responsibilities, accountabilities, but things don't happen the way we designed them to happen. We want them to happen in life.
Yes.
Like
Thank
COVID
you,
happened.
Gülşen,
like whatever happened.
Gülşen, you also want to say something about it? Thank you, Mimi. Thank you. Yes. Practicality of it is very important. Like with the team, we can fulfill that.
And you develop muscle, basically. It's the muscle development. That's what it is all about.
Yes. And Anita, I will come back to your question after Gülşen. We will do a little bit exercise.
Okay.
I wanted to thank you, Bilge, for giving us and creating this opportunity and the space for us to share how it really is in real life. Because we read all these and we participate in many webinars, but it's the real thing is in your real life how it occurs in your real life. Like in the transformative communication, I speak for myself, that I'm aware of how to speak with love and compassion, but that doesn't happen every day. And yes, there's many factors that lie beneath that can trigger me off, or I can be very reactive. I react to reaction. And so knowing all this, oh, does it work every day and you fulfill your whole life like this? No, it doesn't work every day, because I do stay in the zone sometimes, but getting out of the zone and staying in your possibility and creating that love and compassion, it does form really good communication. And there is, and somehow where you was having a breakdown, where you have a breakdown, it kind of all unfolds and it rotates your way when you are in a transformative communication. Coming to mindfulness, I've been practicing some meditations that come with mindfulness in the that 8-week program, and I found it so interesting, where doing a meditation called the body scan every day, you get to know your inner self. Like, you introvert and you listen and you analyze your whole body, and it tells you, it literally talks to you when you meditate, and it does work. When you focus, and that's when you do become present, you just lock everything from outside and you turn inside. When you turn inside, that's when your body starts talking to you. And that's when you can radiate yourself through communication. And also your body language reflects this as well. Even your face impressions and the way you speak, it just reflects. And it's a real good practice that I enjoy doing. Plus, there are many other meditations, as you may know, that take part in the mindfulness practice. And yeah, it works in different areas in your life. So that's what I've found meaningful, and I wanted to share.
Great. Thank you, Gulshan. Beautiful share. So,
thank you.
Anita.
Thank you, Gulshan. That was wonderful.
Yeah, so
thank you.
Anita, you there?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
well,
so
in my practice,
let's go.
I use the body scan and the safe place and the inner child and so many other things.
Yes.
So is this mindfulness? I didn't know what is mindfulness yet, apart from everything that we know and do.
Okay, great. So when you stay in the moment, yes, you have a consciousness. So what are you observing now about yourself?
Now at this moment?
Yes.
I'm observing you, your face.
Now, what are you observing about your own thoughts?
Nothing. I have no thoughts now, because
you just had a thought.
I am into your thoughts.
No, you just had a thought about, I don't know how this is applied in, how we can apply mindfulness in everyday life. You had that thought. You had that question.
No, this is not the question.
What is the question?
The question is, if, for example, I take a class, 1 hour class, I go there, what do you do with me? This is my question. I understand the other part. So if I take a class, suppose I'm taking a class to to learn something new, like a yoga class or a painting class or a sculpture class, whatever. I go to an institution, I will do 1 hour of mindfulness. Apart from my life outside, what do I do there? This is my question.
Okay, so when you ask your question, are you observing your curiosity?
Yes, I'm very curious.
Okay, so observe that. Observe how much curious you are. Focus.
I'm very.
Focus on your curiosity. Focus how much curious you are. What's up there for you now? What kind of emotions?
I have to answer.
Yeah, what kind of emotions, what kind of feelings you are having when you are curious? Observe it.
Well, my feelings are that I want to improve my practice with my clients. Or many of these things I already integrate, but I'm curious to know how to give it as mindfulness and not therapy.
Okay, so is it like a burning desire?
Not very. It's a desire.
It's a desire that you are trying to find that puzzle to, the jigsaw puzzle to pick it up in, like
Yes.
how
Yes.
it's like that feeling that you can't really put the plug in and you're trying to put it in.
Yes.
Okay, so you observe that now. We are doing mindfulness at the moment.
I'm observing that.
Yes, you are.
I'm taking this seminar, let's say, for educational purposes. And I know a lot now. I know that what I know about mindfulness, what there is about mindfulness, I know a lot about it. And this is very satisfying for me. But there is a small piece of puzzle where I like to advise my client to do something as mindfulness. I want to put my finger on it, what it is.
So, do you do practice meditation for 50 minutes, half an hour?
No.
Okay, so that would be a great place to start the process so that it's not mental anymore, but it's a living ontological reality. And if you go to a mindfulness class, it depends on whether I wrote the name Tara Brach. You can look at her videos, YouTube's.
Okay.
Can you type that out?
Tara Brach and Jack Cornfield. These two people are really they're amazing people. And they are very inspiring people. You can see all those principles that we taught in just their way of being and meditating, and how their way of being and talking. So first you start to, some of us, we start with being 5 minutes in the meditation, when we first start, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, then it becomes half an hour, then maybe it becomes an hour. But it's really that you need to live that presence. And once you do that, okay, then in your practice, when a person coming to you with a racing ideas, that happens to you a lot, yeah? They have a racing ideas and you're trying to really connect with them, yes? But it's difficult to connect with them because their mind is racing around your client's head. That happens, yes? So you say, okay, let's breathe together for 5 minutes.
Yes, I do that.
Okay, 10 minutes. That's mindfulness.
Oh.
That's and you don't talk at all. You say focus on your breath. And then
yes, I do that.
Okay, you focus on your breath. And then after a couple minutes, you can maybe say, based on the case scenario, feel the feelings, feel the compassion that arises in us, or feel that stillness, depending on which situation you are in. So you are at the same time both doing mindfulness and also doing kind of a hypnotherapy, because you are guiding them to a state of mind where there is a calmness and a security.
Yes. Now I understand what mindfulness is.
Yes, yes. You know, here and now approach that psychology took, they took it from mindfulness. The psychologists didn't invent here and now approach. All these people, Carl Rogers, Eric Fromm, and all these people,
yes,
they studied either Suzuki or Zen Buddhism, and that's why they take now here and now approach. But they are doing it with words. So what do
yes,
you feel now? How do you feel at the moment? How do you feel? How do you think about this at
yes,
the moment? Yeah, those
yes.
are all mindfulness in verbal terms. Yes,
Now I know what mindfulness is.
but yes, but
Also, Gordon, you know, the last slide you gave, Gordon, I took a course, 7-month course in it. This
about the barriers to
the
listening.
roadblocks and the I statements, etc.
Mhm.
So that also is mindfulness.
No, no, that's not mindfulness. That's not mindfulness. That's how mindfulness is combined with cognitive therapies, with the kind of cognitive. But what is important here? You, instead of talking or trying to convince or not convince, but show your clients their ways of patterns, you first take them to a calm and safe place where they are,
Yes.
because there is an openness in the way of being, in synchronicity with you, they are more open and attentive to what you're saying, and then they can absorb your suggestibility more because you are suggesting something to them, and they are now more open because of that 5-10 minutes mindfulness that you are putting them together in.
So
Yeah.
conclusion is I'm doing mindfulness and I don't know it.
Yes, you are doing mindfulness, but not with focused and, I would say, Zen Buddhist way.
Maybe.
Like, so maybe if you practice the together with them about 10 minutes, you know, like a kind of guide them. Okay, what do you see now? What do you observe now? You know, the questions I was asking you,
Yes,
curiosity.
yes, yes.
Follow your curiosity. How does that feel? What does it say? Okay, what do you think now? What do you feel now? So stay in the moment. Then you give a minute break. We didn't have time now here, but you give 2 minutes, you continue. So that kind of is an exercise and a lead for a people to really get accustomed to be in the moment.
Now
That's how
I
they,
have
yes,
I have the answer to my question.
yes. And you see, as I was speaking to you, I was slowing down, yeah, because that's it's like the down trance. The meditation is a down, things slow down, yeah, the pace, the
Yes.
breath, because we want to enter into a relaxation where we can, you know, things are so fast paced, we can see our own thoughts. If you don't slow down, if you are up trance, you know, when I was lecturing, I was up trance. But,
Yeah.
you know, if I want to, you know, make you understand something that is not conceptual, that's the thing. Mindfulness is not conceptual. So I can only demonstrate to you, but I can't explain it to you. And the same
Yes. No,
case
but
with,
now I understand.
yes,
I thought mindfulness, I know nothing about it. It's something like yoga, which I don't practice also, but I want to see what it is. So I know most of it now, I
yes.
guess.
Yes, you
Thank you
do,
very much.
you do. Sure, sure. Thank you so much. It was a great time. And please look at Tara Bragg and Jack Conley. Please look at
I
their
will.
being.
I will.
They emanate serenity. They emanate stillness. They worked it so well that you can see how it comes from their inner being to outside. It's so, they're so, you know, resourceful and cultivated inside, loving kindness and compassion and those things. They are, you see them and you say, oh, wow, that's a cultivated person. And you say, respect. That's my, actually, I adore them. They're so
Okay.
beautiful, so beautiful.
I will look at them.
Yes,
I promise.
yes, and hopefully you get some value out of today's seminar.
Very much, very much. Like it was a scattered ideas came into a nice ball.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Okay, that's great to hear, because that was my intention, to pick up so many different things and try to bundle them together to make people see how these seemingly separated things are actually connected. They are connected.
Yes, yes. I just don't want to take much of your time, I spoke too much today.
I know it's great. It's great. It's great that I think Mimi, you contributed greatly to the seminar, and Gülşen is my, how do you call it in English? She's my the source of luck in my seminar. So when she's there, because I don't create the seminars by myself. I create with the interaction with people. So thank you for all of you for being there,
Okay.
and interacting and creating.
And please do not forget to send me the link for the previous seminar.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
And
Thank
then
you very much.
just in case, I am writing my email address here, just in case, so that you can contact me anytime you want.
Okay.
Anita, can you see my email address?
Okay, yes, I can see it.
Okay, and then we keep in touch, and hopefully I will see you all on 1st of September, Anthology of Peace.
Please send a reminder, because our days in Beirut are mixed up. I may easily forget.
I will. And today, as Mimi said, I will send the Zoom link one day before, and also reminder during the day. So that would be better for people, so that people don't worry, as he says, are they going to send the link? So it will be.
If you send it to us before, we can pass it on to other people too, Bilge.
Yes.
Even in the last minute, people without registration, they can jump in.
Sure. Yeah, that's thing. I just yesterday we tried to get my account to Pro account, where you pay money, but somehow there was a problem with Zoom system. So that's why I could do it today after the work, and that's why it was like last hour that I was. But next time I will put that in place, so that we avoid all those things, and then we can distribute it more, so that people reach it more. We have more things. Well, love you.
I want to say thank you too, Bilge, to you and Anita and Gülşen and a few others, which I haven't noticed whether they are there or not, or just
they are here.
I believe Hussein is gone. And Anita, you've been wonderful contributing as well. And Bilge, as always, we're used to him now. And Gülşen, as Bilge said, I don't know what it is with you, but wherever you are in this space, there is a lot of relaxation.
Yes.
Comes with it. That we feel secure, we feel relaxed, we feel fun, we feel, how can I say, at ease.
Yes.
And I think you got that magic space, that in your space, wherever I am myself, and Bilge just mentioned too, it's so relaxing and so free, so much freedom.
Thank you very much.
And so
Love
much,
you, baby.
And so much nourishing,
and
I would say. And it is so much nourishing. I mean, it's a nourishing energy.
Yeah, she's nurturing.
Nurturing, yes, nurturing.
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 A true feminine energy, isn't it?
Yes.
Lovely.
Okay.
Well, keeps us at sort of balance.
Thank you so much, guys, and I hope this
Thank you, everyone.
Will contribute one way or the other to your life.
Okay, thank you very much.
And love you all.
Thanks,
and
Anita.
See you in September, huh? See you 1st of September.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, guys.
1st of September.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.